Good evening, Facebook friends. We're going to bring you a break here between the State of the Union address and give you a Facebook Live talking about dreams and what people's dreams are. And as I bring our guests here on this evening, here we go. Don't know me, my name is Sieg Taylor, and I'm coming to you live here from the Emerald Coast of Florida, and there is Paul Wolter. Paul, I haven't introduced you yet, so give me a second here.
No sweat.
So I'd like to introduce to you Paul Wolter, who has a passion and is living his dream right now, and he's going to share it to you this evening. Paul, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight?
All right. So what we got here is basically we got conversations where we talk to friends of ours on Facebook who are living their dreams. And we're going to talk fishing tonight, the art of fly fishing, right? Trying to demystify the art of fly fishing, correct,
That's
Paul?
right. Yep, that's right. That's right.
And, you know, whenever I talk, I just like to always start out is, when did you start? When did you know that you love not only fishing, but fly fishing? Because it is such a beautiful sport.
Yeah, well, fly fishing for me, my dad, a long time ago when he was younger, he used to fish a lot of rivers for, salmon, steelhead, trout, things like that. So as a kid, when I was, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, we used to go to rivers in Northern California where I grew up, fishing like the Klamath and Trinity rivers and Russian rivers and lakes and whatnot, catching, trout, squawfish, bass, steelhead, things like that. And I always enjoyed it, but it never, I guess it didn't really like stick with me super hardcore yet. That came a little bit later when I was about 11 or 12 years old. A buddy of mine was over at my house. We were talking about fishing because he goes to Montana sometimes. We were kind of talking about that. And he mentioned how people would fish this pier near my house and catch like sharks and stingrays and other kinds of saltwater fish. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because I don't think I'd ever fished saltwater at that point. So I talked to my mom about it, and being the great mom she is, she's probably watching. She went down to the hi, Mom. She went down to the local Payless drugstore where they used to sell fishing gear there. And when I was in school one day, and she came home and got me a little surf rod, 7-foot surf rod or boat rod, and a big spinning reel, big giant, be like a 5,000 size spinning reel, huge thing. Some 30-pound test line and all the hooks and weights I needed, and I think like a box of anchovies. So I had everything I needed to go to the pier. So that weekend I went down there, and I remember I fished for probably 5 or 6 hours and caught nothing. And I was like, oh man, this is tough. And then I always remember about 10 or 15 minutes before she picked me up, I was looking at my rod, and it's a really, really stiff rod, but it's white, so you can see it, movement really easily. So I was looking at it, and I could see the tip just going like that, little subtle movements. And I was like, oh, wow, something's on there. And I remember walking up to it and watching it. And yeah, every 10 seconds it was moving, So I picked it up and I set the hook and I just started cranking it in. And of course, being such a heavy rod and not much of a fish on the other end, it wasn't doing much. But when I got it up, I saw that I had a little 6-inch or 8-inch fish on there called a bullhead, a little saltwater bullhead. And people actually use them for bait. They don't really fish for them. And I got that thing in and I was just so excited. I was trying to get the hook out. I still remember I was like this, just shaking, trying to get the hook out. It was so excited. And so, I got the fish off and
yes.
Came back the next week. I did some research during the week and I found out that the better bait to catch sharks, that's really what I wanted to catch was a shark. I found out the better bait was squid. So I had my mom give me some squid during the week when I was in school, and I came back the next week with squid. And that time, same fish in the same spot. I remember I casted my bait out and waited about 10 or 15 minutes. And this time I was watching my rod tip again. And instead of going like that with the last fish, it was, like that. And I was like, oh, wow, it's something big this time. So I went over and, set the hook again and brought it in. And this time it was, probably about a 3-foot leopard shark, which
wow.
San Francisco Bay where I was fishing is full of them. And
yeah.
I was just before I was shaking like that, trying to get the hook out. And this time I was just full on panic mode, It was so cool. And those first 2 fish, that little 6 or 8-inch bullhead and that shark, just gave me the sickness, man. That just started everything. And from there, it just progressed. As all fishermen do, it just progressed to other things like trout fishing on Bay Area lakes and getting into bass fishing. And then yes. About a year or 2 later, that's when I decided to try fly fishing. And then the rest is history.
Well, okay, so do you remember your first fish that you caught on a fly rod?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was this one. It was from a Lake Berryessa in Northern California, which isn't yes. too far from your old house. And I remember we were fishing, me and my family were up there again, and had a 7-weight fly rod, which is pretty heavy for, I was trying to catch bluegill.
Yes.
Pretty heavy rod for bluegill. And we were on, I believe it was Capel Cove in Lake Berryessa, fishing on, I think, the launch ramp dock. Yeah. And I walked out there, you know, being 12, 13 years old, whatever I was, and I looked down and I saw all these bluegill swimming around. And I was like, oh, cool, you know, they'll eat a fly. And I had on like a little hopper fly, little cricket, little dry fly. And I remember I was standing on the dock and the fish were like right there in front of me, you know. So I took my fly rod and stripped some line out and just dropped it straight down. And one came up and ate it. And I think I set the hook and it might have gone flying over my shoulder. I don't remember. It was really
Immediately.
small. Yeah. And but I think that was my first fish on a fly. Yeah.
Okay. So were there any TV shows or any movies that inspired you?
Well, it's funny because the movie The River Runs Through It, which is obviously the most famous fly fishing movie ever made, and maybe the only one, I'm not sure.
Yes.
But yeah, that came out, I think it came out actually after I started fly fishing. I think I started fly fishing maybe 6 months to a year beforehand. But that definitely, you know, just made me want to do it even more. And, you know, obviously I've seen the movie a whole bunch of times, and I think I still own a VHS tape of it in my room, actually.
Absolutely. And for some of you that are listening, VHS used to be something that was kind of about this big. You'd stick it in this big machine, and you watch. Actually, it produced movies. It's crazy.
Yeah, it did.
Do a Google search on that. But yeah, if you hadn't had a chance, those of you who are watching, by the way, those of you watching, hit like and share on this. We want to share this passion with everybody, and that dreams do come true. But A River Runs Through It with Brad Pitt. I mean, when he was in that river, just casting back and forth, it's an art form, fly fishing. For me, I watched a TV show called The American Sportsman back in the 1970s. That's
Kurt Gowdy, I believe. Yeah.
Kurt Gowdy, and he had a fly fishing show about New Zealand, and I was instantly hooked. I remember my friend from high school, Grant. Him and I would take our girlfriends to the river, and we would fly fish for the trout there in the evenings. And then we didn't catch big trout. We caught 12, 14-inch trout. But it was so beautiful. And that was a dream. And then, of course, the river runs through it.
Yep.
And that's the neat thing about this is that's how you get that's how you just fall in love with something and you start dreaming.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing now? I mean, because, you know, we're fast forwarding now. You're in Florida. Whereabouts in Florida are you?
I'm on the southwest coast of Florida in a city called Naples, just like Naples, Italy. Yeah.
Naples. And you've been there for how long now?
Well, I came here first with my family back in summer of 2002.
Okay.
And I was here until 2006, and I actually moved back to the Bay Area, not too far from where you were living, back in 2006. And I stayed there for a couple of years until the economy, you know, what happened in 2008.
Yes.
Bad stuff happened. And my job wasn't looking so good, and, you know, missing the family being so far away. So I decided to come back. So I've gone back and forth a couple of times now. So I've been here ever since, yeah.
Matter of fact, I was just thinking when you were saying that's where we met, right? We met at my house.
Back in 2010, our good friend Matt Allen from Tactical Bassin, which you guys should check out. It's an amazing bass fishing site.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I sold my boat back in 2008, so we hooked up and been, you know, talking a little bit ever since.
That's what I remember, because
you not so much anymore. Yeah, not so much anymore. He's so busy.
Well, yeah, you know, Matt. By the way, we hope to get Matt Allen and Tim Little on here at some point. He has a Tactical Bassin.
Absolutely.
Go to YouTube, just type in Tactical Bassin, type in my name, you'll see me catching some big fish. But that's that's on a side note. But with that being said, so you sold the boat to Matt, your boat, and you came back to Florida. And every time I see a picture of you, you're holding a beautiful fish and a fly rod in your hand. Okay, so tell me some of the fish on where you live in Florida that you catch almost daily basis, right?
Yeah, for right now, I mean, I haven't had a boat in a while, which is kind of a good and a bad thing in a way.
Yeah.
But for most part right now, I mainly target largemouth bass, peacock bass, and snook when they come into the beaches in the summertime. They're really easily accessible.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about tarpon, which is something I've never caught. And if you don't know what a tarpon is, it's kind of up there on the bucket list of everybody wanting to catch a fish. They want to catch a fish as a tarpon.
Yeah, imagine a little herring that, you know, come in a little can that you buy at the market, and imagine, you know, a 4-foot-long herring, basically. That's a tarpon.
They get up how big?
The world record, I think, is from Africa, or I can't remember. I think it's like 260 something pounds. I'm not sure, but I mean, a big one is like, you know, 150 plus is considered a pretty big one. But they catch them regularly over 100 pounds, though. Yeah.
Okay, but so here, well, you've caught a few, right?
Yeah,
Tell
I
me,
mean, I don't get out for them too often. We have
yes.
small ones that live kind of like in the rivers and even some of the ponds, freshwater ponds
Okay.
have tarpon in them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fished for tarpon, a handful of times over the year. Well, a little more than that, but over the years, here and
Well,
there.
tell me the one that brings you probably the best memory of it.
Yeah, and it
Tell me.
wasn't my first tarpon, but I was
Yes.
down in the Florida Keys,
Yes.
down in Marathon back in 2010, I think, fishing with my buddy Derek, who's a big guy down there now, real busy, great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we were down there fishing right off Marathon, and we were fishing this flat, and it was kind of tough. We were seeing some fish, but I think the wind was blowing, and just not really having the best luck getting them to eat.
Yes.
So we were actually in a big bay boat, a 24-foot yellowfin, which is not like a typical fly fishing tarpon boat.
Yes.
We were using a trolling motor, kind of going along in about 4 or 5 feet of water, and I remember looking out just, I don't know, maybe 40 feet off the bow at about 11 o'clock. And there was a big old tarpon sitting there, probably, solid 50-pound fish, big fish. And, oh, there's one. So I think he put the power poles down and we stopped, and stripped. I was using a 10-weight fly rod, which for tarpon is a little on the light side. That's kind of the lightest you want to use for like adult tarpon. Most guys fish, 11s and 12s, but
okay.
10s can handle fish up to like 50, 60 pounds pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So I got my 10-weight.
By the way, hold that thought right there. I just want to say, fishing poles, rods come in different weights, and of course, the higher the weight, the better, the stiffer the action is. Of course, for bigger fish. Okay, so a three weight might be for small fish, 12 to 14 inches. Yeah. Now we're up to 10, 11, 12 weights, or up to fish that are 4, 5, and 6 pounds. Foot long.
Feet.
Not pounds, but yes, absolutely. So continue. You see a big tarpon.
Right, this big fish is just laid up there in the grass, kind of shallow grass, like I said, about 4 or 5 feet of water, and strip my line off. And I'm using a fly. It's a real popular fly. It's called a toad. It's a little kind of chartreuse fly. I don't know what it looks like. It's a weird looking fly. It's got a marabou tail. It looks crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, I was nervous, man. I don't get to tarpon fish a lot, but I made a great cast. Put that thing right on his face, and I remember watching the fly sink. And the water in the Keys, if you've never seen it on those tarpon flats, it's like drinking water. It's crystal clear. You can see everything. On a sunny day, you can see fish coming from a couple hundred yards away. Way out. So this thing is just right in front of me. I can see everything. Throw the fly out right in his face and strip it once or twice, and I just see the mouth go like that, and the gills flare, and fly disappears. Oh, there he is! So I strip set and get a real powerful hook set, and the fish just goes ballistic and runs off. A couple hundred feet of line and does the cartwheels and everything tarpon do, somersaults. And if you've never seen a tarpon fight, they are probably the most violent fighting fish, besides maybe like a sailfish or something. They are just vicious fighters, and they rip line off.
Absolutely. And by the way, like I say, after we're done with the Facebook Live here, by the way, as you hit like and share, go to YouTube and just type in Florida Keys fly fishing for tarpon, and you'll see what Paul's talking about. It is absolutely amazing. Paul, I was in the British Virgin Islands here about 3 years ago and hooked into my first tarpon. Now, my mouth just went.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the action of these fish is phenomenal. And as you know, and other people, my friends know, that, I'm an avid bass fisherman, and, I love the action that bass give us, but
it's a different world with tarpon.
It's a whole different world. I'm telling you, it really is. You better be ready for these fish.
The one word I always used to describe the fight is violent, because it's crazy. The very first tarpon I hooked was down here in the Everglades back in 2008. Yes. And it wasn't quite as dramatic. It was a blind cast to the fish. I didn't see the fish. We were just kind of casting to the fish we saw rolling and pushing around. And I set the hook on that fish, and man, I messed that up so bad. I set the hook, and I had a loose line everywhere, and the fish just flopped. It was like a 10-second fight, but afterwards I was just like, oh my God, that was insane. It's a totally different experience. If you're coming from trout or bass fishing, going tarpon fishing, it's like driving a Ferrari versus like a Camry. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
It is. I know. I'm 100% agree with you on that. So this fish took out about 200 feet. Was doing cartwheels and everything, and
just going nuts. And with tarpon, it's recommended you put max pressure on the fish to really get them to the boat quickly, so they don't tire out and die and whatever. Yes. So I was putting maximum pressure on the fish, just pulling as hard as I can. I was using like a 40 or 50 pound test tippet, which is the end of the fly line that connects to the fly. Yeah. So I had them to the boat probably within 7 or 8 minutes. And now in tarpon fishing, you're lucky if you get them to the boat, because like I said, the fight is so violent that a lot of them come off in the first few seconds, or at least some point during the fight. It's tough to land them. It's a low odds game catching big tarpon. So this one, I got it to the boat, and it's always thought of that a caught tarpon, as long as you touch the leader, which is the end of the line just above the fly, as long as you touch the leader, even for like a second, it counts as a caught fish.
Yes.
But me, I wanted to get a picture for social media and my friends. So I want that fish in my hands, So unfortunately, my buddy grabbed the leader and was leadering it, and the leader just wore through and the fish broke off, unfortunately. So I didn't get to actually put my hands on him. But it counts as a caught fish, and I got to see the fish up close, and I won the battle, man. The fish didn't win. So
absolutely. And one of the things that I think is important that you said something about conservation. We do, Paul and I, and many other sports people, men, women, you name it. We do our best to. It's all about the fight, catching them. Try to catch them, let them go, get them healthy back, because we want to save them for somebody else for another day.
Right.
And it's really important. And so when Paul says he tried to get it in as quick as possible, that's because if you do it for a prolonged period of time, you could wear the fish out to where it doesn't recover. And Paul and I, as conservationists, know that you want to bring that fish in as quick as you can, do whatever it takes to count it, and then hold them for a little bit and let them go. And this one, swam away to fight another.
Swam off. Yep, and that can even happen, after, even if you think a fish swims away just fine, they can die, later, minutes later. So that's why every fish I catch, I like to treat it as gently as possible. Don't hold all the water for too long, and let them go. And my whole life, I think I've only kept like 30 fish, and that was just when I was fishing on charter boats and kind of had to. Always been a catch and release guy, and I just love the fight and just love being outside. So it's a lot of fun. You know what?
Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 and 2, and we'll continue where we left off there. All right?
Sounds great.
All right, we're back from break here, and just before we left off, we're talking about conservation, and a great thing about it. And let's jump back to the West Coast, where you and I fished a few times together at Lake Pyramid for the giant Lahontan cutthroats.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. I've always had a good time on that. One of the things I joined, and if you don't know, Pyramid Lake. Actually, I'm gonna let you explain it. But Pyramid Lake is a natural lake where the Truckee River drains in, and there's no outlet. Tell me what kind of monsters live there, Paul.
Yeah, Pyramid Lake is north of Reno, I think about 30, 40 miles, and I believe it's the remnants of an old sea, and it's something like 30 miles long and up to 10 or 12 miles wide. It's a huge lake, and it's really a cool place to be, because when you're there, it's kind of like being on the surface of Mars or something. There's these just rugged mountains, sand dunes, and you get these crazy winds, and the water's like emerald blue. It's just a really strangely cool place to fish. And it's full of these giant Lahontan cutthroat trout, which get massive, especially in the last few years. There's been all kinds of fish, 15, 20-pound trout coming out of this lake. And any trout fisherman knows that a 15 or 20-pound trout in most waters is completely unheard of, except for maybe a few brown trout fisheries.
Absolutely.
But these things are being caught regularly during the good bite, like on a daily basis in numbers.
Yes.
So it is really a unique fishery, and unfortunately, it's gotten pretty popular the last few years with social media and the internet, blowing it up. But it's still a place that I try to go to every year or two to get my my cutthroat fix.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just for the record, Paul and I have caught these Lahontans that are 15 pounds and above on fly rods. And, one of the things I like about Lake Pyramid is it is out in the desert.
Yes.
And there's a serenity about the place,
it
right?
Is.
I just love to just sometimes sit there and just watch and I don't know, the pelicans. And it's just there's a lot of energy I feel there.
I was going to mention the same thing, and it's one of the few places on Earth you can go outside, I think, besides like the middle of the ocean, where you can stand there and have nobody around on a flat calm day, and you can hear your ears buzz. I've done that many times. I'll be standing there when it's slick calm, which is actually my least favorite time to fish there, by the way.
I know, we like a little bit of wind.
I like a lot of wind at that point. But I'll be standing there, and it'll be flat calm, and sometimes you can hear somebody talking like 3 miles up the beach. But, if there's no noise around, you can hear your ears buzz and you just look around and it's just weird because there's
Absolutely.
just no sound out there. It's crazy,
Absolutely.
but it's awesome. It's very, very peaceful, very peaceful.
Yes, and there's a great story behind the Lahontan cutthroats. And in fact, I believe it was a New York Times story, correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I saw that one.
So if you type in Lahontan cutthroats, Lake Pyramid, Nevada, and then type in maybe in the Google the reintroduction of the Lahontan cutthroats, it's a beautiful story. And I'm not going to take too much time on that tonight, but you can do that on Google and check that out, Lahontan cutthroats, Lake Pyramid. So let's go back to Florida.
Yes.
You're living your passion. You're living your dream. You got pictures on social media, Instagram, all that good stuff. But you're also giving back, and that's important for a lot of people who live their dreams. And when I'm consulting with businesses, not only do I ask them about their dreams, but I also ask them, what are you doing to give back? And you're actually taking your passion and your dream, and you're giving it back through a website that you've now had a few years up there. Talk to me a little bit about what you thought about doing that, and then you did it, and what's going on? What's the website?
Okay, well, back in 2011, I got on board with a really popular fishing tackle review site called TackleTour.com, and that's been around for, I think, around 18 years now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just a contributing editor there, so I do, occasional pieces for them. Usually, it was a mixture of conventional bass fishing, lures, rods, reels, and also a little bit of fly stuff sprinkled in. And over the time I've been with them, I've been bugging the guys, and I was like, hey, we should start like a fly fishing site. And I think it was in the back of their mind too. They wanted to do it, but it's not the easiest thing to build a website. It takes a while.
Absolutely.
So I finally got around to it in the spring of 2016, and we built it out, and I put all the content in there, and it took a few months of work, but we finally launched July of 2016 at the ICAST and IFTD show, which for those who don't know, it's pretty much the world's biggest fishing show. It's down here in Orlando every summer. So we launched right before the show, and our website is called demystifly.com, and it's kind of a weird spelling, so I'll hold up a name there. You can see demystify. It's like the word demystify, just with the fly at the end. See what we did there?
Clever, clever.
And so we started the site, and we wanted to put a there's content for everybody on there, but we wanted it to be more of a friendly site for novice and intermediate anglers, where they can just go and get like really easy to read information. It's not going to be confusing. We don't try to throw it all on them at one time. If you go on demystify.com, what you'll see is on the top there's a bar with kind of like a beginner's section where there's different sections you can learn about the fly line, the flies, the rod actions, leader construction, all that kinds of things. So you can go on that site and not know a thing about fly fishing, and you can click through those bars on the top and get basic information from each category to at least have a grasp on the sport. And I try to post about 2 or 3 blog posts a week on there, and that'll be a mixture of fly tackle reviews and also a lot more in-depth articles touching on different subjects as well as the same subjects on that homepage, just getting a little bit more detailed. But on that homepage, it's just really like a quick reference guide you can flip through, and in about an hour probably you could have a pretty good, like I said, pretty good understanding of the sport of fly fishing.
Like I say, it's a good time to hit like and share. We're with Paul Wolter from demystifly.com. By the way, if they, what other ways can they get a hold of you? Facebook?
Hold us up again just in case. But
absolutely.
So obviously the website, demystifly.com. We also have Instagram at demystifly, same spelling.
Yes.
Also Facebook. At Demystify on Facebook, and also I have a personal Instagram if anybody's interested. It's Paul Fishes on Instagram, and that's a mixture of fly fishing content and conventional bass stuff and all sorts of different things.
So Paul Fishes.
Paul Fishes is my personal page. Yeah.
Instagram. Get on it because he's got some beautiful pictures of him catching fish all the time.
It looks like I fish every day, but I spread them out. So
yeah, exactly. Every other day. Hey, living the dream. We're living the dream. That's what you're here for. That's terrific. So, usually I like to end this with a golden nugget. Paul, if there's somebody out there just watching, they don't have to be. Their dream is not to do what you're doing fishing wise, but if they just have a dream and they're just kind of stuck and they just need a little step, like a little gold nugget. What would you recommend?
Yeah, well, for me, it was really about like just making that time and having the dedication, because it's hard initially. You're putting out these articles, you're not sure how many people are seeing them and whatnot. So you just want to really dedicate yourself. Say, I'm going to do it. No matter what happens, just carve out the time and make yourself a schedule to really put your all into it. Because if your goal is way up here and you're only putting this much effort into it. Well, when you don't reach your goal, well, you shouldn't be surprised, because you got to put maximum effort into it if you want to get the, see the maximum result. Because when you're older and not in the best of health, you're going to look back and you're probably going to say like, oh man, I should have tried that, or I wish I would have tried that. So even if you try and you don't reach your absolute dream, but you get closer or whatever, at least you gave it a shot. So give it a shot, while you still can.
Absolutely. And I just want to add to that. That's so true. I read a quote, and I just wish it was a beautiful quote. Matter of fact, I kept it somewhere. I keep some of these quotes, but basically it says that successful people will never say you can't do that. Mm-hmm. It's only unsuccessful people who just have nothing better to do but say negative stuff that'll say, Paul, you can't do that. That'll never work. Successful people will always encourage you to do it. Is that correct, Paul?
Of course. And there's a lot of, see negativity out there, online and stuff. People saying, oh, people telling other people, oh, this stinks, or this is boring, whatever, trying to always put everybody down. And, if people are saying that to you, just ignore it and do what you're doing and, see what happens. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm sure you've probably seen this already. You'll get a message or something, hey, saying thanks. I did what you said in the article and I caught my first whatever it was. I'm sure you did.
And that's a great feeling too. A lot of fishing guides say that they get a lot of enjoyment out of watching their clients catch fish as much as if they caught the fish themselves.
Yes.
And it kind of sounds like, a bunch of baloney, but it's actually kind of true. I get it. And from a writing standpoint too, if I write something and somebody can just send me a message to say, hey, I enjoyed your review, or like I bought a rod because I read your review, or this helped me or whatever, that's great. It makes me feel great, because that's the whole point of the site, is to teach people and give them necessary information to have more success on the water. So if you read my articles and you like them, send me a message. I like seeing it. I like reading them.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, who doesn't like to get the kudos? Because
absolutely,
it does. I can't, the people that have saw something in me along the way, and as a matter of fact, I hope my English teacher from high school is watching this, because that's
Mine
a whole
too.
other story. Yeah, exactly. Because he's the one that he believed in me and said, yeah, you can do this. You can do this. Yeah. So, Paul, listen, I just want to say thanks. It's been a pleasure, having you on here. Conversations with Facebook Live, where anything happens, and everything went pretty good, this smooth. No dogs in my end barking or cats clawing. But anyway, thanks. I look forward to coming down to see you in June, like we talked about. I want to get into some of those tarpon. Okay.
Yeah. We got to do something this year. We haven't fished since that day at Pyramid, and that was back in 2013, Sieg.
Yeah, it's been a few years. It's been a few years. Well, I'm finally here in Florida. So everybody,
great.
Listen, always lead with honor, honesty, and integrity. Okay. Always strive, live your dreams. Okay. We get one shot at this thing. We're Absolutely. Not getting out alive. Okay. Would you agree, Paul? So sometimes sometimes you got to fight for it. So what is your dream? Okay. If you have any questions for me, I can be easily found, sigtaylor.com, or here on Facebook. All right. Take care. Go in peace, everybody.
Thank you, Sieg.
Good night. Bye,
Thanks,
Paul.
buddy. Bye-bye.